Radio Cambridgeshire.
Now, you may know him from his brilliant 3 series of the BAFTA-nominated BBC TV sitcom Count Arthur Strong, or from his 7 series of the Sony Gold Comedy Award-winning show on BBC Radio 4. Or you may have also seen him on one of his 9 national tours he's done as Count Arthur Strong. Well, comedian Steve Delaney is soon to embark, get this, on his 10th national tour, and is coming to Peterborough again in February next year. I caught up with him earlier and I began by asking him, as a performer, did he find life in lockdown particularly challenging?
Well, no, it wasn't bad. I mean, the longer it's gone on, the harder it's become. But initially, that first lockdown, I always have a long chunk of time off after I finish the tour, and I was lucky enough to get my whole tour out of the way just a few short weeks before we went into lockdown. So that first lockdown didn't really make much difference to me, to be honest. But in fact, I spent more time exercising with my son, running and stuff, and I was probably fitter at that period. Been difficult to keep up the fitness as lockdown's gone on, and we've had more lockdowns and more severe lockdowns. But I think we fared very well as a family during lockdown. And I was fiddling about doing a bit of writing and doing quite a lot of home improvements, both here and on the wreck of a house we have in France, which we love, but it's getting closer to being habitable now.
How long have you been working away at that place in France?
Oh, just a couple of years. It's only a couple of years ago.
And lockdown's been a challenge for a lot of people. And, I've spoken to many performers recently who some have found it, quite therapeutic. I think from what you're saying, you found it the same, but others found it extremely kind of frustrating that they weren't able to get out there and perform. And you're so used to performing. And we'll come on to the tours that you've done in the past and your forthcoming tour in a little while. But I suppose the logical place, Steve, is to start right at the beginning and understand how it all started for you and how did you get into acting and performing?
I always wanted to be an actor, really, and largely, I think, because the TV was always on in our house when I was a kid through the 60s. So, but I always had that sort of the ambition. It wasn't a need, or I didn't need to do it. It was just something that was always in my mind, that kind of performance element. And I had a kind of circuitous route to becoming an actor. And in fact, I didn't go to drama college until I was in my mid-20s. But I did do some theatre workshop courses in Leeds that were run by the Education Authority. The inspector for drama there was a very enlightened chap called David Morton, and I was actually doing some amateur drama, a play, a Keith Waterhouse and Willis Hall play called Come Laughing Home, which is a very funny play.
Right.
And the woman in it, who was a teacher, she was playing my mother in it. She suggested that I went down and signed up for some of these courses if I had the time. I was actually working for a living. I left school as early as I possibly could. I had no academic ambitions, and so I think I was probably 16, and I remember just turned up unannounced at his office. Which kind of bemused him, I think. And I signed up for a couple of. They were running drama weekends, largely for kids who were at school or students, people at university and what have you. Sort of that age group, around about 15 to 20 age group. And I signed up for. There was a summer drama course, so I kind of left work really to do this summer drama course, which lasted 6 weeks and ended up with a performance at the end of it. That was what took me from just, being really quite wooden and standing up and moving around where somebody told me in amateur dramatics. That's what actually got me into situations where you'd improvise and you'd pretend to be a bird and, kind of wonderful things. Just interacting with people you'd never met before. And they were fantastic, the courses for me.
Was it at that time, or was it near around that time when the first inkling of Count Arthur Strong appeared in your mind?
It's probably in around about 1981 was when I first started fiddling around with Arthur, just for an exercise we were doing. I kind of thought, what can I do to make it a little bit different? And I came up with a vague notion of an embryonic form of Arthur, funny little sketch, and I didn't think anything of it at the time. But I remember it went down very well with you had to perform these sketches to the rest of your year in the staff, and it went down very well. In fact, I think up to that point, in 2 years, it was the most success I'd had with anything I'd done. so I kind of filed that away, and it was, although I didn't perform it for some time after Central, it was always my first take on things that I'd see happening, things that were slightly amusing. I'd think, what would Arthur say? What would Arthur think about this? And so, unbeknown to me, in a sense, I was filing a lot of stuff away.
When you first performed Arthur way back then, did he have any resemblance to Arthur today, or was it very, very different, that first appearance?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't very different. I'd say. I mean, it was more mannered in the performance and more external. It was more external in those days. And if I ever look back at clips from that time, I do look a bit like a young man pretending to be an old man. Unfortunately, right. Now I'm more Arthur's age, sagged into the character, if you like. But the essence of the character hasn't changed. It's just that I think I'm quite a lot better at doing him than I used to be. And as I say, it comes from inside me now. It's not an externalized performance. I used to do a strange thing with my chin when I started out. I'm not quite sure why, but I used to stick my chin right out when I was speaking as Arthur. I think it was to try and help me get the voice, I suppose.
And, one of the traits, of course, of Arthur is his malapropisms, which is an absolute art form, Steve. It really is. And it's just genius. Is that something that developed as the character came along, or was that also from the outset?
No, that was always there. That notion of getting things wrong is quite a strong. I always think it's quite a strong northern trait. I'm from the north. I'm a bit like that. I've met a lot of people that are like that over the years, and I think a great way, particularly in radio, of people knowing that you're getting things wrong is by mispronouncing. Yeah, and there's a lot of fun in coming up with those slightly skewed reference points, so people think, did you really mean that?
Well, it works so well. It's just absolutely hilarious. How do you describe the character, Arthur, to the rare someone that's maybe not familiar with him as others? Well, in your words, how do you describe Count Arthur Strong? It's
difficult. When I first started out, I used to phone people up, that friends of mine that had been to see Arthur, that knew what I was doing, and they used to say, how would you describe him? Because it was difficult for me. I'd think, oh, he's like this, and then I'd think, no, hang on, there's more to him than that. The generic description of him from me is just he's a nutty old bloke. That's it, really. He's a nutty old bloke.
I think that does it justice. Is he based on influences, maybe, from anyone in your life from old? Is there anyone in there?
Not any one person, but there are little recognisable things from a variety of people that I knew when I was a child, really, older relatives and things. Older relatives, they often used to disgrace themselves by having a drink too many. There are rare occasions that you saw them.
There was a time, and it would have been well early on, that you put Count Arthur Strong to one side and for several years, and you focused on your acting work. You were in the likes of Juliet Bravo, The Bill, Casualty, Poirot, just to name a few. What made you decide to do that? Did you have ambitions of not being a comedy performer but being a serious actor? Was that the kind of plan there?
Well, I didn't start out to be a comedian. At all. It wasn't in my mind at all. I went to drama college because I wanted to be pretty much a straight actor. But, to be a straight actor these days, or in those days, and still now, you have to be extremely versatile. And I soon realised that I wasn't particularly versatile. The attention to detail that I put into Arthur, I think a good actor has to put into every single part he plays. And I just couldn't do that. I mean, I immersed myself in Arthur, and to be an actor, you have to immerse yourself in the next character you do. So it wasn't too far out of drama college. You know, I mean, I considered myself an actor. I had an agent, and I was seeking work as an actor.
Yeah.
And it was probably about 5 or 6 years, maybe a little bit longer, out of drama college that I actually started doing Arthur, what I'd call properly.
That's the delightfully brilliant Steve Delaney, who plays Count Arthur Strong on tour, radio, and on TV in the 3 series of the BBC sitcom Count Arthur Strong, all available to watch on Netflix. And I urge you to watch them because they're not only genius, they are just side-splittingly funny. Good, clean family fun as well. I'll defy anyone not to laugh at this character. And we'll hear more from Steve Delaney about his forthcoming tour, how the character made it to BBC One primetime, and that magical moment he describes of co-star Rory Kinnear's audition, also another brilliant actor. Now it's time to continue the conversation with Steve Delaney. You may know him, of course, from his brilliant 3 series on BBC TV, the sitcom Count Arthur Strong, and he tours very extensively, and soon his 10th national tour, which comes to Peterborough too. I asked Steve if he felt that different parts of the country understood the character better than others.
I don't really notice that too much. There, you know, when we book a tour, there are obviously places you go to where you get less reaction than you expected, or you know, or so on. But I've never really found there's been a void, in a geographic void where Arthur just doesn't go down. It tends to work as well in down south as it does up north. It's not a northern thing in my head. A lot of people said, why did you set the TV series down south? Well, I've always been quite careful about not saying where things have been set. I'm pretty sure I don't say where the radio series has been set. People just assume it's the north. But so no, the geographical thing I've never really been aware of. We tend to do okay everywhere, really.
You became a regular guest, of course, on, I remember, the Mark Radcliffe show on Radio 2. How did that all come about? How did Mark come to notice you?
They came to see, Mark and his producer, John Leonard, came to see the show up in Edinburgh. And John got in touch with my management company just to say how much they'd enjoyed it. And I said to the management company, well, if they enjoyed it, get me on Mark's show then. And so they did. They got in touch with them. And then I became a semi-regular on it for some time.
Yeah.
Which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and of course then BBC Radio 4 picked up the character for Count Arthur Strong's radio show in 7 series and Christmas specials, and great critical acclaim, wasn't it?
And John, Mark's producer, is still producing our radio show to this day.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Mark bowed out probably about, I don't know, he was with us for quite a long time, but he got too busy, couldn't really find the blocks of time to do it.
Yeah.
So he probably did about 5 series, Mark. And then John Leonard took over, and then Graham Duff kind of stepped in as well. Graham Duff had always been script editor on the radio show, but he kind of stepped in and took a bit more control on the production side as well.
And you know, when you won the, many awards, but including a Sony Gold Comedy Award in 2009, did you ever foresee such a response from people in the industry? How did that feel?
Well, no, I didn't. You know, I've never really, any award we've ever been up for, I've never really thought we were going to win it anyway. But no, I mean, it does seem to go down very well with people in the industry. I'm not sure why that is. Also, the music industry too. We have loads of fans amongst bands and band members and what have you. I don't know why it appeals to industry people as it does. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of industry people that really don't like it. Not their cup of tea as well, as it should be. I've never been overly concerned about a certain number of people not liking the show. I don't think everything is there to be liked in its entirety, frankly.
No. You then, of course, partnered with the brilliant Graham Linehan to bring the Count to TV, of course. Was that a difficult journey for you both? And how did that partnership happen? How did you start working with Graham?
Well, again, it was one of these things very similar to John Leonard and Mark getting in touch with me, which kind of led to the radio series. Graham sent me an email and he said something along the lines of, "If you're ever interested in transferring it to television or getting it onto television, I'd love to work with you." So,
Wow.
so I remember I emailed him back and I said, "Are you the Graham Linehan I think you are?" And he said, "Yeah, I am." So we arranged to meet. It was shortly before an Edinburgh festival, and it's probably about 2012, I think, we first got together, something like that. We arranged to meet. He was coming up to Edinburgh to see a couple of other shows or something, and we met up and we decided that we would like to work together. So at that point we started working on a few ideas, and we went down a dead end really. We had a notion for an entertainment game show that the BBC commissioned a pilot for, which ultimately didn't work as we wanted it. The guests would have to be absolutely brilliant on it every week, the contestants. And we needed 6 of them for every episode, and it would the only way it would work is if it didn't look like a set-up quiz show, and it had to be a set-up quiz show. So it didn't really have any legs. But from that, we got the a script for a TV sitcom commissioned. They said, "Well, we don't think this works. You don't think it works. How about the sitcom?" So Graham and I wrote a sitcom script, and then we cast it, and we had a rehearsed reading of it at the BBC, and from that they commissioned the first series.
Wow. And obviously it was 3 series, initially starting on BBC Two in 2013, and then moved to, of course, BBC One primetime for series 2 and 3, and BAFTA nominated no less as well for best sitcom. And I have to say, it's how me and my family fell in love with Count Arthur Strong, was through the TV show, and then we went back through your radio shows. Just hilariously brilliant and great family fun. Did your fan base change after the TV series, aside from getting bigger, of course? But did you notice a major change in your fan base?
It didn't change. It was just with the addition of the television series. A lot of the people that listen to the radio show feel some ownership on it, because you invest. You invest a lot when you listen to the radio. So there were a lot of questions, and they couldn't understand why the cast that were in the radio show weren't in the television show. And frankly, it doesn't matter how many times I explain this to people, they still don't fully understand that. Right. In the radio show, we'd have a cast of me and 3 other people, but we'd sometimes have 12, 15 characters in there. All the other casts would be playing 3 or 4 parts. So how you can't transfer that to television?
No, of course.
You have to have actors playing the parts, and also you have to have the actors that look right for the parts. It was very important that Arthur was the only character who was made up to look slightly older, if you like. We couldn't have everybody doing that because it would look a bit odd, I think.
Yeah, I think it would. Now, of course, Rory Kinnear, son of the brilliant Roy Kinnear.
Both brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I mean, it was a joy to watch him in the series, and I'm a huge fan of him as an actor as well. But what was it like to work with Rory? And once again, was it? Did you seek him out, or how did that come about with him having a part in the series?
Well, Rory came in and auditioned. Initially we were auditioning for a rehearsed read-through. And Rory came in and auditioned with everyone else for the rehearsed read-through. And frankly, it was one of those moments when he came in. Because he came in and he read for the part, and it was stunning, absolutely stunning. And when he left, we just all looked at each other. There was me, Graham Linehan and Richard Bowden. I mean, I was reading with everyone as Arthur. And we looked at each other, and I think it was me that said, I just hope he wants to do it. And we all felt absolutely the same. And, fortunately he did. And he went through the whole process of, the rehearsal through, is it commissioned, isn't it commissioned? He didn't just he wasn't offered a part and he turned up and recorded the TV series. He was on it for the whole journey. And he was fabulous to work with. I absolutely loved working with Rory. Those scenes in the cafe where we were sat on opposite sides of the table,
Yes.
they were fantastic. I loved it. He was great.
I mean, the way you bounce off each other and the chemistry is just magical. It really is. And the way you've described that audition process and the way you looked at Graham, and sounds like quite a magical moment there. You kind of knew then that this is the guy. This is
It absolutely was.
Me and my daughter, we saw you live at the Key Theatre in Peterborough way back in March 2015, and it was the Somebody Up There Licks Me tour.
Yeah.
It was a sellout, I remember, and it was a brilliant show. We also met you after the show, and you kindly signed your book for my daughter. Through it all, I've always laughed. And now you've another tour coming up, and This Is Me, which is also coming to Peterborough again on the 12th of February next year. What can you tell us about this tour?
Well, it's more of the same, really. Arthur's shows are never too coherent. They're always tangential. You never know where he's going to end up when he starts a tribute to Bing Crosby or whatever it is he might be doing. You never know quite where it's going to end up. It generally ends up in some huge argument with himself on stage. So, the best description for any show of Arthur's is he starts out with a lofty ambition, and This Is Me. He thinks none of his other shows have particularly been about himself, whereas they have pretty much from start to finish only been solely about himself. He has quite an ego.
Yeah.
So I describe them as a stream of consciousness, his shows, and it's I don't know how else to describe them, because I can't really say it's about this, that, or the other, because I never actually get there. Arthur never actually gets there. It's the meanderings that's the show, not the intent.
I think it's a great description. Now, this tour was postponed, I think, wasn't it, due to the pandemic? Is that right, Steve?
It was, yeah. We would have been touring a year earlier. I think that was the plan. Yeah, quite rightly, we put it back, and I think we've just about done it right.
And you've toured so extensively over the years. I think this will be your 10th national tour. Is touring your first love, or is it radio, or is it TV?
It's the lot, It's the work. It's even the writing, although it's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
I enjoy all of it. I wouldn't particularly choose one over another. I do enjoy all of it. There's nothing... on tour, there's nothing like having got about 10 shows in Dubai. I always give myself 10 shows, and for the first 10 shows, every day when I'm on my way to the venue, and I might have to drive 200 or 300 miles sometimes, because the set goes in one van and I drive myself. It's just how I prefer to do it. That time in the car, in me driving myself, is a good time for me. It's preparation time. But for the first 10 shows, I'll run through the entire show out loud in the car as I'm driving along.
Oh, wow.
It's a kind of superstition of mine, if you like. And then once I get to 10 shows, I think, no, that's it. That's it. It's all in there. It's all absolutely in there. I don't need to worry about that. And at that point on a tour, it's a lovely feeling where I don't have to sit in the car and shout the show out as I'm driving along.
Wow.
I can just relax. But the short answer to your question is I wouldn't choose one of them over another. I do really enjoy all of them.
The superbly creative Steve Delaney, who plays Count Arthur Strong on tour, on radio and on TV in the 3 series of the BBC sitcom Count Arthur Strong, all available to watch on Netflix. So if you've not dipped in, make sure you do, because it's just golden. It really is. And make sure as well that you book tickets now via the Key Theatre in Peterborough for his tour in February next year.